Hello, today I'm going to be presenting a lecture on Chapter 12 of Coercion and its Fallout by Sidman. This is going to be on coercion and the conscience. So what is the conscience? The conscience is our sense of morality, or a sense of right versus wrong. This is going to vary from culture to culture. It's also vary depending on which religious groups one is a member of. So, for example, in the United States, cannibalism, for example, is morally wrong. We don't go around cannibalizing each other. However, if you go to some remote village in the middle of the Amazon, cannibalism could very well be accepted as morally correct based on that culture's upbringing and the way they do things. As a second example, if one is Catholic, LGBT things can be seen as morally wrong. However, if one is a Unitarian Universalist, LGBT activities and culture is seen as okay. Origins of the conscience. Conscience is developed during childhood. According to Sidman, there are two main viewpoints: coercion during childhood, or the Freudian view. I sit somewhere in the middle with this. I mostly agree with Freud, but I'm going to go over both points nonetheless. Coercion during childhood. This particular side argues that we develop our conscience based on what we learned during childhood. This is, of course, very much in line with the principles of behavior analysis, being that behavior is learned. Some examples of this: a child is scolded for stealing candy, therefore stealing is wrong. A child sees that people get hurt when they're bullied, thus bullying and hitting are wrong. These two examples are confined within the social institution of the school. Now, a child's environment at home could be radically different. They could be hit on a regular basis. Therefore, if they're being hit, it's going to show them that hitting is okay and morally acceptable. Therefore, this learned behavior is going to be passed on to the next generation, so on and so forth. As behavior analysts, we need to be cognizant of every single environment that our patient is in. All these environments have to be in cohesion, so to speak. That way, our patients can generalize across environments, not think, oh, I can hit people at home but not at school, or I can hit people at school but not out in public. We need that to be the same across all environments. So, one way to look at this is the train problem, which is what I like to think of as a philosophical litmus test. In the field of ethics, we have the train problem. Now, you're going to see many variations of this. However, the classic example is that someone is sitting above a train platform. This person has a lever that can divert a train. But on one track, you have one individual. On the second track, you have hundreds of individuals. So which option is correct? For the United States, the so-called correct answer is to kill the one person rather than killing hundreds. I mostly agree with this. Now, if you were to throw in other factors like the one individual might cure cancer, that would, of course, influence your morality in determining which option is correct. Now for the Freudian view. Freud argued that the superego keeps our conscience in check. The superego essentially learns what is right and wrong based on childhood experiences. Not going too much into Freud, we know that he believed in people getting stuck in childhood based on their experiences. For example, the case of little Hans, in which he had a fear of horses, supposedly based on his interactions with his father. I won't go too deep into this. However, we look at theorists like Freud, we do see a lot of correlation with behavior analysis. Everything is learned. We all learn based on our childhood experiences. Each viewpoint just has different vocabulary for how we learn behavior and why it's learned. Now, as you can see here on the right, Freud believed the conscious versus unconscious. The id is our so-called unconscious desires, are bad things such as wanting to gamble, murder, stealing, things like that. The superego regulates the id, right? It acts as a filter, saying, okay, I can't do X in Y situation. Now, the ego is at the so-called conscious level. This is what we present to everyone around us, and this is what exhibits our learned behaviors to the public and those around us. Conscience and control. It's impossible to monitor everyone, but childhood gives us the best opportunity to do so. As we get closer and closer to adulthood, many restrictions lessen. For example, as children, we cannot buy cigarettes or drink. Once we hit the ages of 18 and 21, we can smoke and drink respectively. It's be helpful to think of conscience as the sum of the function of our childhood experiences plus our positive and negative reinforcements and or our positive and negative punishments. After childhood, we trust individuals to know right from wrong. This is not always the smartest move, as we'll soon see. Is conscience to be trusted? In an ideal world, everyone could be trusted. This is not the case. Society's coercion, more often than not, fails. Sees us with individuals with a psychopathic personality, which they lack empathy. They just do whatever the heck they want without any regard to what they do to another individual. Psychopathy, or so-called evil personalities, tend to be maintained by extremely tempting illegal reinforcers like drugs, money, sex, and things of that nature. So now we move to our discussion questions. In your opinion, what contributes to psychopathy? For me, I think it goes back to what we learn in childhood. As children, our parents teach us right from wrong. So if we're taught that, for example, hitting and stealing are right, that's going to carry over into adulthood. What prevents you from taking the easy way out to obtain things like money? For me, I simply don't want to go to jail. I prefer to do things the so-called hard way and the right way to earn money from a job and helping people. How can we as behavioral analytic clinicians combat psychopathy? Personally, I think behavior analysis needs to embrace more of clinical psychology. We need to look at things from a broader perspective and learn how to teach people morally correct behaviors via things like acceptance and commitment therapy. We need to embrace these cognitions when we're working with individuals. And here are references, the DSM-5, and of course Sidman, and questions and its fallout. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation.